This is the Paranormal Report. Welcome to the Paranormal Report. I am Jim.
I am Dar. What's new and exciting?
Well, we're actually doing this via video and audio, of course. So if you're listening on the audio, no changes there. But if you want to see the video, very compelling. Here we are. We are on video today for the first time for the Paranormal Report. And we're going to try it out and see how we like it, see how you like it. And we'll go from there. So welcome to the show and lots of paranormal stuff to get into.
We're probably working out kinks and things will improve.
This is very 1.0. This is very 1.0. There's no question. Yeah. Because
I'm not a morning person and we're doing this in the morning. So this is fun.
So there you go. Well, maybe something that could jolt you into awakeness is if you got a mysterious signal from space.
Oh, okay, Dar. Maybe. Oh, yeah, it could be like my alarm clock then, maybe, right?
This comes from thedebrief.org, and apparently there are an international team of astronomers who have detected a mysterious object in deep space, and it regularly sends out 2-minute pulses of radio waves and X-rays. And it does this every 44 minutes. It's known as ASCAP J1832-0911. That rolls off the tongue. And researchers are kind of stumped on what's going on here. Dr. Andy Wang from the Curtin University node of the International Center for Radio Astronomy Research said, this object is unlike anything we've ever seen. And they've discovered this with a radio telescope in Australia. And what gets me is every 44 minutes, exactly every 44 minutes, in a repeating pattern called long period transits. So, I think they're trying to equate this or explain this away by natural whatever. But to me, every 44 minutes specifically says to me that there is some kind of intelligence behind it, maybe. Again, now they said that this could actually indicate a new type of physics. And they said some proposed explanations include a magnetar or binary star system with one highly magnetized white dwarf. But those theories are incomplete and do not fully explain what we are observing. And again, that's the debrief.org, and check them out. They always have a lot of great articles. But I don't know. What do you think? I mean, to me, every 44 minutes, that means somebody's pushing the button, or they at least set up a program that would distribute these signals. Maybe they're trying to say, hey, we're here. What do you think?
Well, I think it's very interesting. It's 44 and not 45. But when you were reading this, you know what it reminded me of? What are those like radio stations that you just hear?
Number stations.
The number stations. I don't know why that
right
just
on
reminded me
shortwave.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's nobody understands what that is or who's producing that.
Right.
I don't know. Just kind of what it reminded me of. I don't know. Is it intelligent life, or I don't know. Maybe it is just something very specific to space that they just never knew before.
Well, I don't know. Again, to me, that regular interval, I'm like, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
See, but I don't know if I agree with that because it's so specific. It's 44 minutes. I would think it would be more varied if it was another life form, maybe like, this time we'll do 28 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Just because it's.
But I would think that they're trying to say, hey, we're here and we're going to show you by laying out this pattern. So
maybe.
I guess you could.
Hey, I don't
glass half full,
anything.
Glass half empty.
I don't discount anything. Keep studying. Let's find out what it is. But I don't know that they'd ever come out and say it was another life form anyway.
No, they won't do that. They won't do that. Well, talking about life forms, some ghosts are good and maybe some aren't. And this next story kind of hints at maybe some of the not so good ones, if you believe it.
Yeah. This is a difficult article because I wasn't sure if I wanted to include this, but so a man dies after claiming that a ghost was trying to kill him. So this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. And he was a Russian tourist, and he was in Thailand, and everybody that had come across him said that he was absolutely fine, normal, no problem. And, he was staying at a condo, and supposedly he approached a security guard and told him he was being haunted by a murderous ghost with bulging eyes.
Huh.
Okay. So this poor man is running around the building. People said it was like out of a horror film, the way he was running around screaming. He said the ghost was chasing him. He was trying to kill him. He was terrified. He was running like a madman. He was like completely out of it. And, they heard screams, and he was yelling, I guess, in this really awful voice.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is so sad. He ran and fell off the ninth floor window.
Oh, my
went out the
Lord.
window and died.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, just very sad. Well, this is the part that's kind of controversial for me. They said they searched the condominium. They went in there, and they found drugs. So they feel like he was high. He was certainly high on drugs at the time. Because, I mean, wait a minute. So maybe he was, right? I'm not discounting that. I mean, I think they need to do a toxicology report. Let's find out. But, why are we discounting that? Yes, indeed, there could have been some kind of entity freaking him out, right? Like you just said. I mean, there's not.
See, I'm more skeptical.
All ghosts aren't good. What?
Yeah, I'm more skeptical on this one. You know what
so
it
you
reminds me?
Think it is drugs?
Drugs, or maybe some kind of mental illness issue. You know what it reminds me of?
They said he was perfectly normal all the days prior to this. That people have spoken with him. He was just a fine, normal.
Well, then I think it might
guy.
have been drugs. I mean, again, you don't know. But the thing is that, you know what it reminds me of a little bit of?
What?
You know, the Elisa Lam case, that poor young lady who went and stayed at the Cecil Hotel, and it wasn't what she thought it was. And they observed all this weird behavior on camera and those kind of things. And then she shows up dead inside the water tank on the top of the hotel. I mean,
that was bizarre.
Yeah, that was even more bizarre than this. But a lot of people speculate that there may have been mental health issues there.
Well, there could be mental health issues here too. Yeah. I mean, just because some other people saw him and he appeared normal, there could be a lot of things at play. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was hallucinating. It was a ghost. Maybe it was. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think, I mean, for me at least, I mean, again, as I always say, I'm, in terms of being a believer in this stuff, I'm like 3/4 full. But that doesn't mean every time somebody says there's a ghost, there's necessarily a ghost, especially if there's other evidence maybe pointing to some other causes. So, well, bless him, and so sad to hear about it. What I do know is
that was like extremely sad. I mean, if you think about it. So regardless, whether it was drugs, a ghost, mental health issues, extremely sad that he lost his life, and in such a violent way.
Oh,
his
terrible.
Last moments were horrible. So very
well. Next up, something I don't know that it's terrible, but it could be distressing if you live in the area. And I guess some of the things here are distressing and are kind of terrible if you get into the area of the of disappearances. So you've heard of the Bermuda Triangle, obviously, but there is an area called the Alaska Triangle. This is, again, friends at the Daily Mail talking about this. This is a region that's well known for unexplained disappearances. Well, apparently, there was a declassified CIA document that mentions, it sounds like a possible UFO base of sorts. Now, the CIA has never confirmed that the alien base exists, but local folks have reported streaks of colored lights, orbs traveling at high speed, and mysterious vanishing people. A former security officer, Jared Augustin, said he saw a glowing orb hovering in the night sky near Mount Hayes before it suddenly split into three. He said it was a UFO of extraterrestrial origin. With all due respect, how would he know that? But it's interesting because people are saying that things maybe have been scrubbed from satellite data that would prove this. This is over Mount Hayes, which rises over 8,000 feet. And it's well known for all of these weird disappearances and paranormal activity. Even on History Channel's Missing in Alaska, they had footage of a UFO that may have been alien craft. And they've had, as I said, many disappearances. In 1972, U.S. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs, his plane vanished en route from Anchorage to Juneau. So, again, the folks in this area believe that there may be an alien base. And we'll talk later about another area that is seeing a ton of UFO activity. But I always wonder, at least some of it, could it be military? You know, people disappearing in the Alaska wilderness. I think we talked about this before. Could it be because it is so vast? It's like trying to find somebody in the ocean. You know, it's massive. I mean, Alaska is way bigger than people realize it in. What do you think, Dar?
No, I mean, we talked about this Alaska Triangle before. There had been previous stories. So, I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, although, you know, some of the points that you've brought up about the wilderness being so vast. But so then that kind of lends itself to, wouldn't they find their bodies somewhere in there?
Yeah.
I mean, if
I
they
sound
were
like the
doing a
big
search.
skeptic. I feel like the big skeptic today.
You're very skeptical this morning. Like, how did I turn into the bigger believer? It's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, just today.
Seriously, because you're like, well, it could be explained like this. And I'm like, but wait a minute. What about...
It must be the video. I don't know.
I don't know. Disappearances to me are kind of weird. You know, like people just go off the radar, and it's, well, where are they? Like,
yeah, I do wonder about that.
Anywhere, like no evidence.
We had a great campfire story. I won't spoil it. It's kind of in reverse, but it's about people appearing out of time and space. So if people can appear in a time that they shouldn't be in, could they disappear as well? I do wonder about that. I mean, David Paulides has done a lot of work on Missing 411, but I teed him off so he won't come on the shows. And it wasn't that big of a deal.
Naughty person,
yeah.
you. What?
I'll quickly tell that story. So we were going to interview David Paulides, who's done incredible work on Missing 411, people just going missing. And this was when I was working a full-time job, in my defense. Other than this, I was working full-time job and doing this. And we were supposed to do an interview, and he said, I need it at least, 24 hours before so I can prepare. And I got it to him that morning, I think, that we were supposed to. I said, I'm very sorry I didn't get you the stories I wanted to talk about, but things have been a little hectic. He's like, you've not given me time to, I'm paraphrasing. You've not given me time to prepare, canceling the interview. And that was it. And I tried to email him and say, I'm very sorry, and we can reschedule, and I'll make sure. And so, I mean, I've done interviews. I'm not comparing myself to him, but I have 6 books out, and I have done how many years of campfire, and I'll do interviews a lot of times talking about campfires, and people will pull things out of the ether. You know, well, whatever about that story that you did in 2011 about the disc jockey? I mean, and I don't like, you didn't give me time to, I'm like, you roll with it and you work with it. And I know Mr. Paulides is very.
He didn't have enough time from the morning.
I know he had at least a couple hours, but you know,
if that's what you do for a living and that's your job. I mean, like, if somebody came to me when I was doing speech therapy and said, okay, explain aphasia, I should be able to
Now,
do
was
that.
I wrong not to get it to him in time?
Well, yeah,
I agree.
You should
I was wrong.
If he requested the time, you should have given him the time.
Yeah,
but my question is, if this is your job and you're the professional, how come you can't do this quicker?
But anyway.
Really? I mean, like, you weren't probably picking stories from the ether either. You probably were picking some of the more popular
No, there
ones,
were stories that were in his book. But you know what? That's okay. That's God bless him. God bless him.
Okay, whatever.
God bless him.
I'll be nice. We'll stop.
All right. Well, the next story. This is.
Well, it won't matter, Jim, because you know what? A star is just going to take Earth and it's going to fling it out of orbit, and we're all gone. There we go. We're done.
There you go. There you go. Well, this is actually another hotspot.
And if you're on Pluto, forget it. You're really done. So.
Well, there's another hotspot. There's another hotspot. A funky little town is hailed the new Roswell after strange UFO sightings.
Well,
This
how
is a
about I
good-
do my story, Jim?
Oh, well, oh.
As I was setting it up about a star
I was wondering what you were
Earth out of the
talking
way.
about.
It's all about you. No.
Come on. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Do your story.
Well, I was just reading this article. Like computer simulations are predicting like the solar system's future, and there's a new risk now that
Of course.
a gravitational tug of
Breathing
a passing
maybe has-
star
Yep.
can cause another planet to smack into Earth and fling it out of orbit. Goodbye.
Well,
So,
if
but
you
read
think,
this, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you think about it, if you don't believe in a higher power, you know, anything can happen at any time to Earth, whether it's nuclear war, whether it's getting hit by a massive asteroid. I mean, if you think about it all the time, it's hard to sleep. But go ahead.
True. Well, they're blaming Mercury for this because they're saying that if Mercury goes haywire and its orbit becomes so elliptical that planet could collide either with the sun or Venus, then the chaos that results will have, you know, Venus or Mars crashing into Earth or Earth crashing into the sun or whatever. But as you read this article, you kind of laugh because right, they set you up, you're scared, you're like, oh my gosh, this could happen. And no, because one of the scientists are like, none of these things are probable. Over the next 5 billion years, the chance of such a catastrophe afflicting Earth is only 0.2%. But apparently that is a higher number than it's ever been. So apparently the chances were much lower and now it's a greater risk, right?
You could drive yourself nuts if you think about all this stuff all the time. What I was getting to before is that I believe, and I know you do too, in a higher power. But if you just took the materialistic scientific point of view, I mean, I couldn't sleep at night because I would assume, you know, an asteroid could hit Earth at any time and wipe us all out.
Yeah, you have to manage your anxieties and what you're going to worry about.
There's plenty enough to worry about just as humans, you know, getting hit by a car.
Let's worry about buying eggs and the cost of that and the cost of gasoline and like living day to day. Because if you worry about all this other existential stuff, forget it.
Well, the thing is that I always try to remind myself in terms of individuals 100 years from now, it won't matter, will it? You know, it's like, and it's interesting, just just a little serious reflection here. I was going through a lot of my dad's stuff because I think I've mentioned he just recently entered long-term care and trying to make sure we preserve important sentimental things, photos and everything. And I've been even scanning some of those in and going through them meticulously. But it reminds you how temporary life is. And you catch one of those photos and you look at somebody who's 30, 35 years old in total youth. And now either they're gone or they're, you know, in long-term care. And it just reminds you of the lack of permanence of everything. Everything is temporary, you know, whether it's things, places, or people. It just makes you think. Anyway, not to be a downer, but it
does. Unless you believe in, you know, reincarnation and your soul's back on here somewhere.
Yeah.
You're just not that person anymore. Yeah. But that's what's sad. You look at these pictures, and I was telling you, I'm like, do you know who all these people are? Because I'll look at my parents' old pictures, and I have no idea who some of those people are. Yeah. And they, of course, didn't write down who they were.
Right.
Back.
Exactly. Because I know who it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, who in the world?
We're going to have that with all these thousands, tens of thousands of digital pictures, because more pictures in those, typically you can tag them and stuff, but nobody does.
How do you know nobody does?
Yeah. Well, AI is doing it now. If you've got Apple Photos, you see right in there. There's the tagging. Well, it's actually kind of nice. It's kind of nice. All right. Back to the paranormal. Back to the paranormal. Back to that funky little Arizona town. It's supposedly the new Roswell. This is from Daily Mail. Now listen to this.
I don't think it's a funky new town, but
funky little town. They said funky town, funky little Arizona town. According to this headline, I don't know why it's funky, but it's Sedona.
That's
And
what I'm saying. Why is Sedona funky?
I
I
don't know.
thought
You'd
that's
have
like
to
where
ask
places.
somebody from, are they funkified in Sedona? I don't know.
I thought that's the places where romantic people
I've been
go for like
funkified.
for honeymoons and
uh,
anniversaries, and then they go and they do retreats and
if
spas
anybody's
and
in
meditate.
Sedona, let me know if you're funky.
Is it
All right.
funky?
In a good way. In a good way. Now, here's the thing. They are getting a ton of UFO sightings there. They've had a combined 484 UFO sightings between 2000 and 2023. That's well above the national average of 34 people per 100,000. They interviewed a gentleman, John Polk, 56 years old, and he said that he sees extraterrestrial activity nightly from his home in Sedona. And he said there's tons of activity. It's easy to see. Now, Mr. Polk goes on to say it's a very spiritual place. There are ley lines where there is quartz. Ley lines are very interesting because they're like these invisible lines across the earth, and they tend to be where there's paranormal activity. Very interesting thing. Ley, L-E-Y, ley lines. And he theorizes that these help build electromagnetic energy that creates electricity and ultimately a pathway for ETs. So that's what he believes happening there in Sedona. And he leads tours in the area. And he also begins his tours by meditating to bring the best results. I guess they want to dial in the UFOs. And that's something recently that's really with the psionics and everything. People are talking about trying to summon the UFOs, trying to, put their mind out into the universe and say, come on, UFOs, come on.
I'm too afraid of that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, some people would say you
probably don't. Okay, go ahead.
No. Ask a question.
No, I was going to ask you a question you probably don't know the answer.
I probably don't.
How far is Sedona from Roswell? And is it in the path and, travel path perhaps, or?
I don't know. In this story, it says it's been likened to Roswell, but I don't know how close it is. I'm not.
I was just curious if they abandoned Roswell because it got too popular, and now the UFOs are heading to Sedona.
Yeah. Well, they think maybe there's an alien base there, kind of like that Alaska thing. I wonder, when you get into the American Southwest, there's a lot of military installations and kinds of things. And I wonder if at least some of these could be military. I'm not saying all. But yeah. So that would be an interesting place to visit.
Oh, I've actually looked into it, maybe for one of our anniversaries or something. But
yeah,
they have a lot of spas and it is a lot of meditation. It is a lot of a lot of people go there to meditate and to yoga and do all that kind of spiritual those kinds of things there. Yeah. So I did look into it once because it's a beautiful area. It's beautiful from pictures, at least I've seen. It's very beautiful. So there you go. What's not beautiful? Oh my gosh. This poor boy in the UK has told his mom that he's deaf in one ear because he died falling off the roof in a past life.
Oh my Lord.
So this kid was extraordinary. Even from 12 months old, he was stringing together sentences. He surpassed and hit all his developmental milestones early. But when he was 6, his mom noticed weird things about creepy smart, not just whoa, he's really intelligent. I mean, he was wearing clothing. He would gravitate towards fedoras and suits and stuff, and jackets that kind of people from the 40s and 50s might wear.
Gee, Mom, this is swell. Gee willikers.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they were using swell back then, but yeah. So, and his mom was like, "This is just kind of weird. It's like he's been here before." And he would talk to people, and people were confused because the way he would speak was more like an adult, and just really, really weird. And when he was 6, so he told his mom, quote, Well, his mom says when he was 6, he was able to tell me that God sent him down to me because he knew I really wanted children. And because he was such a kind, smart man from the last time, he told me God sent me back on a white horse and I woke up as Brennan.
Whoa.
Yeah, as you read this article, like the mom's like, I got chills hearing this from, this is coming from my child. Like, where's this coming from? And so she asked him, have you been a grown-up before? And very matter-of-factly, he said, quote, well, yeah, before I fell off the roof and died. I'm surprised I didn't lose control of the car at the time. No, that's the mom saying she thought she didn't lose control of the
when
car.
he was driving a car on the road.
So they started like researching this, trying to see if people, like if anyone fell off the roof way back. And he's on this show. I don't remember the name of the show. It's about like children who have, come back from a past life. I think it's called The Ghost Inside My Child. So anyway, that when they were interviewing him, it was really weird. He said, so many things were starting to make sense. And he pointed to his ears and he said, I hit my right head here. And that's why I have the hearing aid. There's still something wrong with it. Because they took him to doctors and audiologists. They could not understand why he was deaf in that ear. There was no explanation for it. Mm-hmm. So it's very weird. He gave more details about his past life and said he was born in Springfield. So that's why they started looking at obituaries. And they did find like one man who did fall off a dormitory roof and died. And it kind of matched. And when they showed it to Brennan, he's like, yeah, that's the one.
Now I've been skeptical today, but this is something, and I've seen it multiple times.
And you've had it on Campfire.
Actually, we have a really neat video on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jim Harold, where you can also watch this show now. But about a reincarnation story in England. And there was the one story the woman told. I'll make it quick. Basically, she was scolding her kid because the kid kept going up on a stool or something, climbing to try to get something off a shelf. And she kept telling her not to do it. And then finally, she did it again, and she really got on to her. And she said, I'm telling you this because I don't want you to get hurt. And she said, oh, you're right. She said, it's just like Frida. Frida went down by the river and she drowned, and her mom told her not to, and she died. And she's like, who is Frida? So she's asking her teacher, asking her friends, everybody. Nobody knew Frida. Nobody knew Frida at all. And this had been, I think this child's had a multiple kind of reincarnation kind of memories and things, or it ran in the family. And couldn't figure out who in the world Frida was. She had a memory of somebody who didn't exist in this life, very specific. And it wasn't TV because she didn't watch a lot of TV and things like that. The point is, I think there's something to this. I don't know what it is. I'm not fully ready to say I'm a full believer in reincarnation, but I think there's something to it. These kids that have these memories, James Leininger, the famous one, who recalled being a World War II aviator, and then he met some of the crew members, and everything matched up. And he's like, you got old, when he saw the people 50 years, 60 years later. So it's amazing to me. And I think there's something going on with all that.
I believe that. I do. Even though I'm not, I'm skeptical on reincarnation, but I don't know.
Something's going on. Something's going on. I do believe.
What else is going on?
Yeah. Well, Loch Ness Monster Search. Now, here's an example.
Favorite Nessie.
Here's an example. This is glasgow.co.uk. glasgowlive.co.uk. And here's a case where the headline, to me, does not match up with the data. Okay. The headline is Loch Ness Monster Search ends with underwater footage that could be evidence of Nessie. So I think we've talked about it before. They've been having these searches. They just had the Loch Ness
camera,
Center.
Remember?
Yeah, Loch Ness Center just finished a huge search of Loch Ness. This was May 22nd through the 25th, and they had hundreds of people descend on the area. which I think is very cool. They used remotely operated vehicles, and they tried to go underwater and try to get a picture of the beast. They had GoPro cameras and lights placed in strategic locations to capture it. Now, they did not find pictures of Nessie, but the baited camera traps captured incredible footage of pike and salmon, believed to be the first time they've been seen on camera in the loch. Expert hunters say this could be evidence of food to sustain the giant monster. I don't think that's evidence of Nessie. Now, it's kind of cool that maybe they saw
They didn't know they had
fish.
No, I mean,
but
I know
that's kind of a far leap to say, well, that's evidence. There you go. And again, I'm kind of on the side of Nessie. I kind of believe that it's very possible that there's something underwater that only pops up every once in a while, and it's, quote, a sea monster. I totally buy into that. But to say that that is evidence of Nessie, I don't think so. They went on to say there were tons of volunteers, there were tons of debates, and they continue to search, and they are going to do more. The general manager of the Loch Ness Center, Najina Ishak, the excitement and buzz around this weekend has proven that the Loch Ness mystery is very much alive. We all want the same thing, to discover the secrets that lie beneath the loch. So that's cool. I think that's a great thing, but I don't buy that necessarily as proof.
Yeah, I don't. What proof? To me, that's like, what proof? There's no proof. There's no proof there. Just because there's fish and pike and salmon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
yeah, of course. That's kind of what you would expect in a body of water to find. I mean, I don't know, but maybe people will say, well, not those kinds of species. Okay. Right. All right. I don't know.
Now next up, you have a follow-up on something we talked about on the shows before, right?
You have talked about why Southerners paint their porch ceilings blue, and I'd like to hear from you guys if you're out there and you live in the South and you have your porch and the ceiling's painted blue, because they said it originated in the 1800s as an attempt to ward off and confuse spirits. So Haint blue, and you've talked about the Haints.
The Haint,
right?
yeah, I got a Haint.
Haint blue was first used in Charleston and is associated with the Gullah Geechee people. Excuse me. And it was that light blue was supposed to repel haints or ghosts and spirits, and tricking them into believing the ceiling was water or sky, right? And a lot of people just keep the tradition of that alive, but they've also, they feel like it helps repel insects. So they're feeling like a lot of the insects don't want to go there because of that light blue color. In the article, they spoke to a professor or someone that said, well, no, there's no proof of that, blah, 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 blah. But many people in the South say, oh, yeah, it really helps, with the spiders and bees and different insects. They don't like the light blue.
And there's like a specific shade of it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a very specific shade.
Right. It's definitely a light blue, so it's not like a navy or anything like that. And they've been trying to do studies on the color repellents and will it be actual repellent, and they don't think so, but can't tell people that have done that, and they the superstition's just been passed down from generations. My parents had it light blue. I'm painting it light blue.
There
and if we had a porch, maybe I would do the same, because I don't want insects. I don't want the spirits either.
Well,
I hate with the holy water. Go ahead.
This next one, I'm going to make it quick because I got to go record Campfire, as you know.
You do.
Yes. Country music. I've been a long time country music fan, although I gravitate towards Haggard and Jones, the classic, real country music. Well, a popular country music artist, really popular in the 90s and 2000s, Tracy Lawrence. He had hits like Sticks and Stones and Time Marches On. You remember those?
Yeah.
Well, he is a believer in the paranormal because of personal experience. This is from AmericanSongwriter.com. Now, like most people these days, he has a podcast, TL's Roadhouse. And he started talking about ghosts. And he said, I've been seeing ghosts my whole life. And he gave some examples. Now, first of all, I believe he said here that, yes, he once lived in a house built on a cemetery. Now, my parents' house that they have in West Virginia, there was a cemetery like right over. You looked and the cemetery is right. The funny thing is when they bought the house, there were all trees there. You couldn't see it. I didn't know there was a cemetery. And then like within a year of them buying it, they took down all the trees. And it's like, oh, surprise, surprise. There's a little bonus.
I didn't know that. I just, because when we first started dating and when you took me there, when we walked up there, I didn't know that there had been any trees. It didn't look like there were any trees. I'm like,
it was all grown up. It was or bushes or something. You couldn't see it. But that's like, oh. But after you got used to it, you didn't even think about it. And it was really sad because you go up there and look and there were people who died from the Spanish flu, babies and things. It was a really old cemetery. But anyway, Lawrence gave an example of one of the things that happened to him, I think, in this house. He said, I was brushing my teeth and footsteps ran across the attic above me. So I climbed up into the attic and there was nothing there. He said, another time I stepped out and opened the door and started hearing some creaking and cracking. The chandelier started swinging by itself and then all the lights in it blew out. Whoa. And the thing is, I think there's a big, with a lot of times I think Southerners maybe, or, West Virginia isn't technically the South, but it's kind of the South, like in mindset and things. I think there's a big belief in the supernatural. And I think to them, a lot of people are religious or believe in God or, those kind of things, spiritual kind of things. So it's not a far leap to say you also believe in ghosts. I always found that people who were very churchy sometimes were the most interested in ghosts and those kind of things.
Well, look at the Italians.
It seems like it would be like, oh, you don't believe in that stuff because you believe in God.
Yeah, we're praying the rosary, we're praying to Mary, we're praying to Jesus. Oh, okay, you have the evil eye on you. Let me get the maloika off you. It was just like, it was hand in hand. You just kind of, and I was always confused as a child because I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you believe in Jesus and Mary, whatever, why are you believing that evil can overtake you and whatever? But true. I would see the supernatural, both ways all the time.
Yeah, they're not, to me, they're not mutually exclusive, but
right. But I guess if you try to do some of these potions or tarot readings in Pennsylvania, it's illegal. I did not know this. So I found an article from Go Eerie, and of course, Erie is very close to Cleveland. Yeah. So you may not, if you're in the Commonwealth, you will get prosecuted for a third-degree misdemeanor if you are doing like tarot card readings or anything that they feel like is fortune telling. Huh. So there's a state rep, Greg Scott. He's trying to change that law, and he wants to repeal it and say, it's okay because it shouldn't have been criminalized this long in our state. He's like, it's time for Pennsylvania update the laws, right? So it bars people from charging money, to predict the future by cards, tokens, inspection of the head or hands, like palm reading, or like the age of anyone or any other manner. No spells, charms, love potions, whatever. And I guess the rules date back to the mid 1800s, and they're still like enforcing them, I guess.
So these are old laws, but they're still enforcing them. Wow.
They are. In 2023, this lady got arrested. She was charged for illegal fortune telling, and a Beaver County woman in 2018 was sentenced to probation for scamming people out of $3,000 with her tarot. Now, see, to me, there's a difference. Like, are you reading tarot? Whatever. Are you scamming people? So, I mean, I think there's a line.
Exactly.
How are you using these?
If it's like
readers.
Yeah. If it's like, okay, I charge you a reasonable fee to do a reading. I see nothing wrong with that. If somebody says, well, I'll tell you the secret to curing your cancer if you give me another $500, then
pay me $500 every week so I can keep giving you
that kind
healing.
of stuff. Yeah. And I've interviewed a ton of psychics. And
Right.
one of the psychics I interviewed made a good point because I said, a lot of people consider psychics to be charlatans, con artists, those kind of things. And he said, well, I'm sure there's some dishonest radio and podcast hosts. I'm like, you betcha.
Dishonest in every field. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're gonna
exactly.
find that.
So,
But yeah, as long as they're not scamming. I mean,
Right.
I've gone to psychics. I paid them way back when. I paid them $20. They told me things. Some of it spot on. So, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
they never asked for additional money. They didn't promise
Right.
me. They didn't promise me anything. So
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I think, hello, next door neighbors of Pennsylvania, get with it. So,
Well, we promise you we will be back next week with more paranormal news. Thank you
maybe
so
I won't
much.
move so much. No.
Yeah. No, I think you did great. I think I was very wooden today. I don't know why. I do video all the time and just
You just got
Anyway.
a lot going on. You're already thinking 4 steps
Yes,
ahead to all
I
the
am.
campfire
It's
calls
true. It's
today.
true.
And then this has
you
to
need
be
to be in
edited
the
and this-
now. You need to be in the now.
Be in the
That's
present.
be in the
You need to
present,
meditate.
yes.
Let's go to
That's right.
Sedona and you could do some
Yes,
meditation.
the funky town of Arizona. And I know nothing about Sedona. Sedona is probably beautiful.
But it is
No
beautiful.
insult.
So that's why when you read that, it just
Funky
like blew my
town.
mind. Because why is it a funky
I don't know.
I think I know why, because it is more spiritual. So people are
Yeah.
kind of putting a little stigma on that one.
Mm,
I'm
could
calling it
be.
spiritual, but
Could
they'll
be.
say it's cuckoo, oh,
Could
all
be.
the
Could be.
weirdos. I don't know.
Well, we thank you so much. If you enjoy the shows, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video, because we're gonna try video at least a while on this show and see how folks like it, how we like it, and we'll go from there. If you want to get all of our content and help us do what we do, jimharold.com/plus. And do you have any merch handy there? Do you have any merch you can hold up to the
I
camera?
always have merch handy. We've got
Oh, no.
a nice flat garden flag here.
Show
I'm
it.
going to actually be putting
Yeah.
outside, but we have
There
a
you
nice,
go. Yeah, that's a garden flag. And you can get t-shirts with that logo. You can get pins with that logo. You can get
got our
cups, mugs.
pins.
Yeah, that's jimharold.com/merch. jimharold.com/merch. Move it over a little so we can see it. Yep. There you go.
Whoops, wrong way.
jimharold.com/merch. jimharold.com/merch. And we thank you so much for being a part of the show. And any last words of wisdom, Dar?
Yeah, I don't know. Just stay spooky.
Stay spooky. That's what we do here. Thank you so much for being a part.
Yes.
We'll talk to you next time on The Paranormal Report. Bye-bye.
Have a good week. Bye.